We are constantly told that hope is this limitless, fundamentally pure force. It is presented to us almost from birth as a beacon, right?
Right, exactly. Like this undeniable, inherently good light.
Yeah, a light meant to guide our way through the dark. If you are struggling, people always say, just hold on to hope.
They do, but what if that is entirely wrong?
Exactly. What if instead of a beacon, hope is actually a toll booth? What if the very thing you think is saving you, the thing you are clinging to, is exactly what is keeping you trapped?
That is a very unsettling thought to sit with.
It is. And welcome to today's deep dive. I want you, the listener, to settle into this space with us. Maybe take a deep breath, because today's journey is deeply philosophical and, well, quite frankly, a little uncomfortable.
We are putting a universally beloved virtue under a very harsh microscope today.
We really are. We are looking at Margarita Paizer's incredibly thought-provoking collection, Hope Has an Expiration Date, and we are zeroing in strictly on quote number 4, which simply states, hope has a price. So, okay, let's unpack this, because we are going to explore the hidden, agonizing cost of waiting.
We are indeed. What we are about to examine is the shadow side of a concept that, you, me, and practically everyone listening has been conditioned to blindly worship.
Oh, 100%. It is the sacred cow of human emotion.
Right. But the moment you begin to view hope not as some ethereal grace, but as a psychological mechanism.
Like a tool.
Yes, a tool with a very real, very heavy shadow. And understanding that shifts the entire architecture of how you live your life.
Right. And before we can really understand that price, the toll we are paying, we first have to understand how we so unwittingly become attached to it in our daily lives.
It happens in the most mundane ways.
It does. And what I love about Paizer's text is she doesn't start with some grand, sweeping philosophical statement. She gives us this perfectly ordinary origin story for her own awakening.
A simple workplace conversation, right?
Yeah, exactly. She is speaking with a coworker who later becomes her supervisor. He asks a straightforward question about a project, and she gives the most common automatic response imaginable. She just says, well, I hope so.
Which is a linguistic reflex. I mean, it is a response we have all given thousands of times without a second thought.
Oh, it is practically punctuation for us. But her supervisor replies in this distinctively Southern drawl, Miss Paizer, hope is not a strategy.
Echoing Vince Lombardi there.
Yeah, exactly. And she writes that she came to deeply respect his directness because it left absolutely no room for misinterpretation. But that specific phrase, hope is not a strategy, it really struck a chord for her.
What is fascinating here is how a completely mundane office interaction acts as the catalyst for shattering a profound illusion.
Right, it just cuts right through.
It cuts right through the comfortable fog of wishful thinking. Psychologically speaking, he held up a mirror to a linguistic crutch. I mean, why do we say, I hope so, at work?
To avoid committing, probably.
Exactly. It immediately absolves us accountability. It takes the outcome out of our hands and places it into the ether.
Wow, yeah. And following this, she starts noticing the sheer, unquestionable weight the word hope carries everywhere. In news, politics, music.
Literature, personal connections, it is ubiquitous.
There really is.
And society imbues this word with power far beyond simple wishful thinking. We treat it like an action verb when it is actually a state of passivity.
And it universally lacks the foundation of strategy. We use it for everything. We hope for good weather on vacation, but then we also hope to form healthy habits or find fulfilling employment.
We hope our daily efforts will just magically be acknowledged by the people around us.
Yes. It makes me wonder, is hope like an ambient noise we have simply stopped hearing? Like a collective lullaby we sing to ourselves, regarding everything from mundane weather to our deepest flaws, just to avoid the friction of reality.
That is a remarkably apt analogy. Think about what a lullaby actually does.
It puts you to sleep.
Exactly. It is designed to ease you away from the sharp edges of the waking world. When we use hope without strategy, it anesthetizes us against the friction of the present moment.
It soothes the anxiety of uncertainty without actually resolving it. Here's where it gets really interesting, because Paizer introduces this concept of optimistic procrastination.
Such a heavy, contradictory phrase.
Right. Optimistic procrastination. The idea that an over-reliance on hope morphs it from a beacon into a barrier.
And she points out the difference between public and private hopes here.
Yeah, she mentions freely shared public hopes, like the ones we talk about at parties, versus closely held private hopes. We are frequently terrified to express those private ones out loud for fear of failure or criticism.
Which brings us straight into the territory of the shadow self.
The Jungian concept, right?
Yes, looking through a Jungian lens, the shadow contains the parts of ourselves we repress, deny, or fear to actualize. In this context, hope becomes the ultimate crutch.
I want to understand how this actually works in the brain, though. Walk me through the mechanism there. Why is hoping for something secretly a form of procrastination?
Because our brains are hardwired to avoid immediate pain and risk. Taking real action in the present moment is inherently risky.
Right, you might fail.
You might fail, you might be rejected, you might discover you aren't good enough. So instead of taking action, your brain substitutes the action with the fantasy of the action.
Oh, wow. So just by thinking about it, you feel productive.
Exactly. When you privately hope to write a book someday or start a business, your brain gives you a tiny hit of dopamine just for entertaining the fantasy. You get the emotional reward without the terrifying risk of writing a terrible first chapter.
That hits incredibly close to home. I do this exact thing with my garage. Every single weekend, I tell myself, I hope I will finally clean it out.
And how often does that actually happen?
Never, yeah. Because just by hoping for it, just imagining the clean garage, I feel like I did the mental work, so I sit on the couch instead. The hope itself is the reason I don't act.
Precisely. The hope replaces the execution. And if you, the listener, are feeling a bit defensive right now or feeling a knot in your stomach, that is completely normal.
Yeah, it is a very uncomfortable truth.
We are hardwired to protect our hopes as psychological safety blankets. But putting too much stock in hope prevents you from seeing that you are merely waiting for things to change. The shadow form of hope changes the course of your life by halting it entirely.
Okay, wait, I have to push back here. I am struggling with this a little bit.
Yeah.
If we strip away all hope, doesn't that just leave us with nihilism?
So
Well, if I don't hope for a better job or hope for a better relationship, why would I ever put together a resume or go to therapy? Isn't hope the necessary fuel for action? You have to believe something better is possible to even start.
that is a critical distinction, and I'm glad you brought it up. We have to separate active hope, which is paired with strategy, from passive hope, which is what Paizer is warning us against.
Oh, okay, so active hope has a plan.
Right. Active hope is a catalyst. It says, I believe a better job exists, therefore I am sending out 5 resumes today. Passive hope is the toll booth. It says, I believe a better job exists, so I will stay at my miserable desk and wait for the universe to recognize my talent.
That makes total sense. So if passive hope is this ultimate someday mechanism, doesn't it just turn us into ghosts haunting our own lives?
Ghosts haunting our own lives. I like that.
Yeah, we become entirely ethereal, just waiting for external conditions to magically materialize, rather than being flesh and blood actors in the present moment, just haunting the hallways of our potential.
And a ghost cannot interact with the physical world. It can only observe, remember, and wish. It has no agency.
So if we are just ghosts waiting around, what exactly is that waiting costing us? This leads us directly to the devastating core of, quote, number 4, hope has a price.
The cost of waiting.
Yes, Paizer paints this incredibly wide metaphor that I want you, the listener, to really visualize with us. Picture yourself standing in a bustling marketplace.
Holding a pouch of coins, yeah.
Exactly, a heavy leather pouch. Every single time you invest in hope, every time you passively wait for a situation to improve, you are handing over a coin.
But these are not coins of money.
No, you are paying with your time, your energy, and your inner peace.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, drawing a bit on the philosophy of Alan Watts, we are confronting the profound illusion of the future.
The illusion that the future is real, you mean?
Right. The future is an abstraction. It does not exist anywhere except in your mind. The only tangible reality is the present moment.
So by waiting, you sacrifice the only thing that actually exists.
Exactly. The cost of waiting is the sacrifice of your actual living peace while you cling to an imagined uncertainty. You are expending precious energy in a state of passive expectation.
Wait, so if I am handing over my time and peace in this marketplace, it is almost like I am standing in a bizarre cosmic casino.
A cosmic casino, that is a grim image, but accurate.
Right. I am willingly taking my most precious, non-renewable resources, the fleeting hours of my life, and feeding them into a slot machine.
Buying lottery tickets for a future drawing you cannot even control.
Yes. Entirely out of my control.
You are bleeding your resources dry at the altar of someday. Hope is not free. It demands the wasted moments spent waiting for things to change.
Think about the physical sensation of waiting for someone to text you back.
Or waiting for a promotion you feel you deserve but haven't actually asked for.
Yes, it is agonizing. When you hand over that coin of peace, what are you buying? You are buying anxiety.
You're buying the tension of anticipation instead of the groundedness of simply being alive in the present.
It is exhausting just thinking about it. Investing energy into uncontrollable hopes is actively draining us. We are bleeding out our potential while standing completely still.
Which forces a really profound choice upon you as the listener. If you can feel the weight of that pouch of coins in your hand right now, how do you start paying the toll?
How do we reclaim our agency?
The author provides a very clear mandate: the shift from passive waiting to purposeful action. The text explicitly states that true power rests only in the present moment.
Because hope constantly draws our focus forward or backwards.
Yes, it keeps us disconnected from the here and now. But change, real structural change in your life, happens only in the exact moment when we choose to act rather than wait.
So what does this all mean? Paizer's ultimate thesis is that hope should be a bridge, not a destination.
A beautifully constructed thought.
If I can build on that, if hope is a bridge, we aren't meant to set up a tent and live on it. A bridge is a transitionary structure.
It spans the gap between where you are and where you want to be.
But you have to actually put one foot in front of the other. You have to walk across it to get to the solid ground of action. You can't just stand in the middle, staring down at the water, paying tolls to the wind.
To step out of the shadow of hope is to step off that bridge and into the blinding clarity of the present. Letting go of passive hopes allows us to embrace what we can act upon right now.
Getting our hands dirty in reality.
Exactly. Living fully means engaging with the now, not meandering in the distance of hopeful thinking.
Not meandering in the distance? That really strikes a chord. It's an invitation to actually live, not just exist in suspended animation.
This raises an important question. One, the author structures as an application moment for you, the listener. We want you to think about your own life right now, in this exact moment.
What price are you paying?
Right. What price are you paying by holding on to a specific hope? Is there a relationship you hope will magically improve without a difficult conversation? A career move you hope will just present itself?
Can you feel the weight of those coins you're handing over every single day? It is really about auditing your own waiting room.
Becoming hyper-aware of what you are sacrificing, can you take that coin back from the toll booth operator and spend it on something real today?
Weighing the agonizing price of waiting against the messy, tangible progress of doing.
You stop being the ghost. You become real again.
It is a profound and, frankly, a bit of a heavy journey we've taken today. We started by looking at hope as this unquestionable beacon, and we watched that illusion shatter.
We confronted optimistic procrastination.
We did. That neurological trick that keeps us safely avoiding the friction of reality. And we faced the marketplace.
Realizing the heavy coins of time and inner peace, we bleed away.
Yes, we realize we have to walk across the bridge, not live on it. It strips away the unexamined faith we place in waiting.
It forces us to realize that waiting is an active choice with a very high cost.
It really does. And as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with one final, lingering contemplation. It builds on Paizer's philosophy, but maybe pushes it just one step further into the shadows.
What is it?
If we finally refuse to pay the toll, if we completely empty our pockets of hope and spend every last ounce of energy on immediate, present action,
Okay.
do we risk losing our capacity to dream? Or do we finally wake up from the lullaby and realize that the dream was just a comforting distraction from the messy, beautiful reality we could be building with our own hands right now?
A deeply necessary, beautifully challenging question for all of us to sit with.
Thank you for joining us in this contemplative space today. We know we asked you to look at something difficult, but remember, you don't have to live your life standing in a toll booth. Step out of the shadows, put away the coins, step off the bridge, and we will see you next time.